Welcome to Time Capsule Tales, delving into history's secrets. I'm Reese, and I'm here with my co-host. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Emerson, and today we're going to be diving into the past.
We're going to be talking about World War II.
Let me talk.
Jesus, sorry.
Like Reese said, we're going to be talking about World War II. More specifically, we're going to be talking about Jewish American soldiers and what they had,
Let's just keep it short and simple for the viewers. Emerson here watched a documentary, did some research, and now he wants to talk about Jewish American soldiers from World War II, like what they contributed to the war, the efforts and stuff like that, lasting effects, all that fancy stuff.
whatever. World War II
was bad. Hitler, Nazis, bombs, the works. We don't need to talk about the general overview. It's like, most people know that by now. Unless you're like 5, and I don't think our viewers are 5.
Fine. Forgive me for trying to be informative.
Alrighty. So, there were about, what does that say, Emerson?
Give me that. A little over 500,000 American Jews had joined World War II, most of them having personal connections to the war. Whether that be they had relatives affected overseas, simply couldn't stand the horrors that Jews over there were facing, or any other reason there could have been. For example, an individual named Benjamin A. Gilman had enlisted in the military because he had family that was lost in the Holocaust. In an interview, he said he was motivated by those memories.
How did you read that?
I wrote it.
Your handwriting sucks.
You know what? I don't want to hear it from you. If we want to focus on bigger things that are probably more well-known and more popular, we are going to focus on Operation Greenup. What was Operation Greenup? Hold your horses. Before we get into what was it, let's get into who was it. 2 Jewish refugees, Frederick Mayer and Hans Winsberg, both in their early 20s, enlisted in the OSS, Office of Strategic Services. Their mission was to compile reports on German rail traffic over the Brenner Pass between Italy and Austria. Under the leadership of Mayer, OSS agents were able to collect valuable intelligence, both military and political. That intel was then later transmitted to Bari, a city in Italy, in 46 separate messages. The intel they were able to extract would give allies hints about how Germany intended to fight near the end of the war. With data extracted from the reports, U.S. intelligence officers were able to void the myth that Germany had men and weapons concentrating for the Alpine region. They were also the reason why the Innsbruck entry was bloodless. They had set up a network of local regime opponents within Innsbruck to assist the U.S. military in liberating the region. Before I let you keep yapping on there, Emerson, I'm going to just stop there and talk about the man who was kind of the Nazi leader in that area and who they were kind of against. His name was Franz Hofer. He was the Gauleiter of Reichsgau Tyrol Vorarlberg. Gauleiter in this context means a political official governing a district under Nazi rule. The Reichsgau Tyrol Vorarlberg was an administrative division of Nazi Germany, consisting of Vorarlberg and North Tyrol. Oh, yeah, I would have completely forgot about that. Anyways, Hofer and his personnel were forced to withdraw to Hofer's residence with Innsbruck because there was some other agreements that were made and other militias, and, it kind of ruined his plans. But later, Hofer, he gave up all forms of defense and declared Innsbruck a free city. These men were able to make what would have been a bloody and brutal fight, where lives of innocent people and soldiers would have been lost, into a bloodless surrender. Who knew what kind of information the military could have gotten from Hofer and his men? They also helped with crucial intel. Their contributions to the war definitely made a big impact. If we want to focus on lesser-known things, or less, popular things, we can talk about IPWs, or Interrogation of Prisoner of War. Interrogator of Prisoner of War. Right, so early on in the war, it was realized that, hey, we need to be able to talk to these German POWs.
Usually, only commissioned officers interrogated, but that quickly changed due to necessity. Soon after the realization was made, Camp Ritchie was created. Camp Ritchie was basically just courses and classes where they taught people who were kind of entered into the class how to interrogate POWs. Approximately 98% of the soldiers that went through the course were native-speaking Germans and or Jewish soldiers.
Not so fun fact. IPWs were seen as too valuable to be put on the front lines, so they didn't learn any combat.
But hey, it is what it is. One Jewish American, Dr. Parloff, he was an IPW, and his team of IPWs, they encountered a German infantry while they were driving through Wiesbaden, town in Germany, and he quickly realized that they were in a pickle. If they drove away, they'd get shot at, and they couldn't fight because they didn't know how to fight. They weren't trained.
Parloff told the commander of the infantry that the city was already in American hands, and that he should take his troops to the city hall or courthouse or someplace like that, where they would stack their weapons and wait until they could surrender to the Americans.
And they did. When American ground forces came in, they found the German infantry exactly how Parloff told them to be. Apparently this thing happened quite a bit. But on a side note, Wiesbaden, later it became a focal point of the American forces. So, yeah.
Without these interrogators, communication with POWs would be near impossible and extremely difficult. These German and Jewish soldiers made communication possible, and with their help, I'm sure that the U.S. military was able to retrieve a good amount of information from the prisoners of war.
Unfortunately, even with all their contributions, Jewish American soldiers still face anti-Semitism, both at home and within the military.
And most anti-Semites believe Jews were only quartermasters. A quartermaster was someone who supplied items needed by all army troops. There was a whole corps on it. Quartermaster corps. Yeah, crazy. But basically, food and clothing was of highest demand. It was a menial job that didn't require much effort. And, I'm sure it required effort, but it wasn't on the front lines or in the battle. They were doing behind-the-scene things. Of course, behind-the-scene things are really important too, but I think you get what I mean. It was also believed by many people at the time that Jews were a race on their own and not a religion. Obviously, it was wrong. They were wrong. Yeah.
Many Jews within the U.S. military faced anti-Semitism from their fellow comrades. For example, Artie Coughlin had to deal with a teammate who would walk around the barracks yelling Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler, because apparently his teammate hated Jews. Doesn't make any sense, but,
Prejudices affected opinions on whether Jews would make good officers, the same way they would cloud the judgment on if they would make good soldiers. Basically, Gentiles feared that Jews would not be good in combat, which obviously they were wrong.
Mimi Rivkin, one of the 10,000 women who joined the Women's Army Corps, faced anti-Semitism at a young age. When she was at school, she was excluded from a group that she used to play with, and when she asked one of the kids why, they told her that the teacher, of all people, said that they couldn't play with her because she was a Jew. What? Anyways. Yeah, that baffles me.
Most Jewish American soldiers who had faced anti-Semitism were left feeling demoralized. I mean, come on. Stereotypes and all that stuff. Not a fun time. But they were left feeling demoralized. Both those who had ignored the remarks or had, come back with their own remarks, and those who fought against anti-Semitism.
So what exactly were their lasting effects?
Honestly, it's hard to say. I couldn't find any, actual information, but, because I did, trust me, I spent a long time researching, but I really couldn't find anything on it.
You said you had something.
I do!
Go on then. Go on. Tell them what you have.
You have so little faith in me. I'm a little offended. Anyways, I think Jewish Americans showed that they were able to fight. that they made good soldiers and that they made good officers, even if people didn't believe in them. I mean, come on, the agents of Operation Greenup prove just that. There's also been quite a few veterans who have given interviews and provided us with information and points of view that otherwise we wouldn't know. For example, Aben S. Kaplan had a journal that showed us what it was like to be a prisoner of war. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough time to get into that because there's a lot there.
And, they also supported rescue operations in German-controlled countries, which I think is more of a contribution than lasting effects. But they also advocated for the lifting of immigration restrictions, which led to the creation of the War Refugee Board, which I think that's pretty cool. So, yeah.
Other impacts. Benjamin Gilman has an education program. Benjamin Gilman was the man that I mentioned earlier, like way in the beginning of the podcast. Probably don't remember it. He has an education program named after him called the Benjamin A. International Scholarship. It was named after him because his support allowed the program to be established by the International Academic Opportunity Act of 2000. Since then, 154,000 applicants have been received, and over 41,000 scholarships have been awarded. I mean, hey, I don't know about you, but that seems pretty cool to me. I'd love an education program named after me.
All right. I think that's enough. You're good. Operation Greenup gave way to the movie Inglourious Basterds, a violent but highly entertaining movie. Even if it is just historical fiction, it's got some pretty cool things in it. Other documentaries and books have also been written about these men. And, yeah.
So my predictions here.
We agreed that we weren't doing it.
We are.
Jesus Christ, fine.
And with the IPWs, both Jewish and German, I believe that if we didn't have them, that, there would have been possibly information that the U.S. military needed that we wouldn't have gotten because we couldn't communicate with them effectively. And that information could have led to different situations that could have turned the war possibly or made it longer, prolonged it, And same with Operation Greenup. They were able to void the Alpine Redoubt myth, which I'm sure that if that would have happened, that would have been not good. And then, yeah, those are my predictions. Do you have any predictions, Reese?
No, you told me we weren't doing predictions, so I didn't come up with any.
Jeez, it was just a spur-of-the-moment thing. I'm sorry. Anyways, this concludes our, little episode here of Time Capsule Tales, delving into history secrets. We hope to see you next time.